If you're hosting your own WordPress website, the first thing you need to do to get up and running is install WordPress. And how you do that depends on where you host WordPress. There are some super easy ways, and there are some less easy ways. All ways are pretty easy. WordPress is famous for being very easy to install. It's known for the famous 5-minute installation. In this video, I'm going to show you several different ways to install WordPress, and this should get you up and running in no time. So the super easy way is to use a control panel or one-click installer that your web host provides for you. And the control panel really depends on which web host you sign up with. Every web host uses a slightly different system. I'm going to show you a couple right now. This is the control panel for DreamHost. DreamHost is one of the recommended hosting services, recommended by WordPress, that is. And there is a page on the DreamHost control panel for one-click installations. And if I scroll down here, there's a whole bunch of software that I can install to my web hosting account with one click. So what you'll do basically is click on the WordPress link, and pop-up will give you an option to do a custom installation. You pick your domain that you've already set up with DreamHost. And then I would suggest on Select Database, leave it at Automatically Create a Database, and DreamHost will create your MySQL database as part of the automatic installation process. When this installation completes, you'll get an email at the account that is registered with DreamHost letting you know that WordPress has been installed and giving you a link that you can use to log in. So that's super easy. You really need no technical knowledge at all to be able to install WordPress on DreamHost. A lot of web hosts use a control panel system called cPanel, and this is what cPanel looks like. And it gives you very easy access to some fairly technical processes like setting up your mail server and email boxes, monitoring your logs, setting up security, setting up new subdomains. All the way down here, there's a group called Software and Services. And this blue happy face, Fantastico Deluxe, that's a software installer. So click on Fantastico, and similar to the DreamHost control panel, there's a whole bunch of different software applications that can be installed on your web server using Fantastico. The first group down shows a list of blogs, and WordPress is one of those. So when you click on that, it'll walk you through the installation process. And once that's done, Fantastico takes care of everything, sets up the database, installs WordPress, and you're ready to go. So both of those ways were about as easy as you could possibly ask for. The less easy way is a manual installation, and it's pretty easy. I'm going to show you how that works now. So before you get started, there are a few things that you need. Obviously, you need a web hosting account, or you won't have any place to install WordPress. You also need an FTP program. FTP stands for File Transfer Protocol. It's basically a program that lets you move files around from your desktop computer to a web server. And then finally, you need a MySQL database. Now, your web hosting company will have MySQL installed. That's a database server that works with WordPress. And you need a database created. How that database gets created really depends on your hosting account. When you set up your hosting account, your web host should have sent you instructions on how to do things like setting up a database. And if you have any question about how to move forward with that, you should contact your web hosting company, and they should be able to help you. They might even be able to create the database for you. And when they do create a database, or whether you create a database, or there might even be a control panel where you can create the database automatically, there is some information that you need to write down, make note of, and you'll need this information during the WordPress installation. You need the connection information. That's the address to the web server, or the IP address. You'll also need the database name, as well as the database username and database password. The username and password are different than the FTP username and password. So make sure that when you set up your database, or when someone sets up the database for you, you get this information, and then you'll have everything you need to be able to install WordPress. So my database has been created. I've got my database username and password and connection information. Now I just need to grab the software, and I want to get the latest version, and the place to do that is wordpress.org. So I've gone to wordpress.org, and there's this big blue button on the home page, Download WordPress Now. So I'm going to click on that, which takes me to the download page, and I need to click this button again, and that will download a zip file. Depending on how your computer is set up, you may need to double-click on that zip file to open it up. My computer has automatically unzipped for me, and what I get is this folder named WordPress, and inside the folder are a bunch of PHP files, as well as some additional folders. And this is the source code that makes WordPress work. These are the brains of WordPress. And now we're going to move these brains up to the web hosting account that I've set up. And to do that, I'm going to use my FTP program. When you signed up for your web hosting account, your web host should have sent you connection information for FTP. And I've set that up in my FTP program. I'm using a program called Transmit. And now I've connected to my web server using FTP. And the way my server is set up is I've got, when I log in, I see a folder called Logs and a folder called www. Each web host is just a little bit different. What you see will depend on where you've signed up. But the important thing is to move your files to the right folder. This folder that I see when I log in is not the web folder. www is the web folder. So before I can transfer my files over to the web server, I need to make sure I'm transferring them to the right folder. So I'm going to double-click on the www. And now I see an empty folder waiting for me to install WordPress. So I'm going to call up my WordPress folder on my computer and drag these over. And now my FTP program is moving those WordPress files up to the web server. And a few minutes later, my files have been uploaded, and now I can continue with the installation. So the next thing I do is point my web browser to the address of my website. And what I get is this error message. In the old days, we used to manually edit a configuration file. And you could still do it that way. Some old-timers insist that is the way to do it. But there's a better way, I think, because editing that configuration file is error-prone. And WordPress will create the configuration file for us as the first step of the installation process. So what I need to do is click on this Create a Configuration File button, and it's asking me, basically it's showing me a checklist of things that I need to have ready to be able to install WordPress. And these are things that I already told you to prepare. So WordPress is kind of reminding you, remember that information you're supposed to have? Well, now you're going to need it. So I'm going to click the Let's Go button. And so all of this information that I warned you about previously, the database name, username, password, the database host, that's your connection information. Go ahead and enter that information. And when you're done, click the Submit button. And if everything checks out, you see this screen, and we're ready to start the installation. And now WordPress is asking for some information about the site name and a username and a password. So the site name is whatever you want to call your website. This is different from your domain name. This is the title that is used, depending on your theme, it could be used at the very top of your site. So this might be something that appears on every page of your website. So enter the name, the title that you want your readers to see when they come to your website. Username is the name you'll use to log into WordPress. Now, when you run the installation process, it uses the name admin. For security reasons, you want to change that to something else. Admin is not a good name to use. Then you need to enter your password twice to confirm it. And then you enter your email address as the last bit of information. You want to enter a good working email address. If you forget your password, this is the email address that your password reset message will be sent to. So make sure that's a good email address. So once everything is entered, go ahead and click the Install WordPress button. And the next thing you see is a success message. Congratulations, you've just installed WordPress. Your username is shown, your password is hidden. Click the login button and you'll be ready to go. There's the login screen. Enter my password, click Remember Me, and log in. And that's it. WordPress is installed and ready for use. And so that's the manual installation of WordPress. If you don't have a one-click install or a control panel tool, these are the few steps that you go through to install WordPress.